Hi everyone, welcome to DOdaily Thursday Thoughts. It's Des here, back for the live questions episode where I look to pass on my thoughts, opinions about whatever you wanted to ask me this week. Really looking forward to getting stuck in this evening, feeling really positive. Of course, I always let the viewers know how I feel. I'll come back to that shortly. What I will just say is, if you enjoy tonight's episode, please do give it a thumbs up. Please help me try to grow the channel. It's a slow burner, DOdaily, but it's something that I really, really enjoy. I'm really pleased to be getting stuck back into. The Thursday live sessions get me out of my comfort zone, put me on the spot. Kay puts the questions up for me, and I give it my best shot at trying to just pass on some information. Sometimes all we need is a bit of communication, a bit of light-hearted sort of time away from all the things we do, and just hearing somebody else's view on things sometimes helps, doesn't it? In a week where I've realised the things and the people that have really, really inspired me, whilst it could have been a really tough week, remembering one or two people, birthdays and anniversaries of passings and things like that. I've actually found ways to sort of make that really, really positive and feel really good about the things I'm getting back into. The good things that work for me. One of those is running. Just completed a really tough session here in Nottingham. I do a little bit of coaching, almost trying to sort of focus on a bit of well-being and some tough boot camp style running. So managed to take part in that again, feeling great for doing it, feeling really tired. 2 10Ks this week. Again, everything's just starting to sort of work out for me. Feels like I'm doing the things I'm supposed to be doing. All I'm trying to be is positive and enthusiastic about the things I enjoy, and hopefully encourage and infuse enough so people are inspired and motivated to maybe take them up themselves. There's no preaching going on here. It's just me talking about my sort of daily experiences and doing my best to pay it forward as much as I can. Yesterday could have been a really tough day. A friend of mine took his own life 6 years ago. Of course, I spoke about it on DOdaily on Wednesday workout. Do check that out if you can. There's a lot of explanation. I don't need to keep explaining, but periodically what I do, because I feel like I want to carry on a legacy from what happened. Again, trying to find the positive from the most extreme adversity. And I want to sort of keep spreading the word. It's one of my real inspirations. So again, the positive that's come out of that, it changed my outlook. But you'll learn much more about that if you check it out. Please do. It's an important message as well. Whilst I do this for all those reasons I've just said, to encourage and infuse and be positive and inspire and motivate. Of course, there's a bit of focus on mental health as well. I'm open and honest. Monday's episode this week was particularly honest. One of those when I wasn't feeling too good towards the end of last week, and it was a chance to get out a few of those thoughts and start building on it, and knowing what was coming next with those anniversaries and things I mentioned before. It was just a start of sort of dealing with them, I guess. And by talking outwardly, that's all I'm doing. I'm helping myself and helping whoever wants to take something from it. So, it's building into a good week for all those difficult situations that could be, and they are in their own way, not in their own way, in any which way. It's tough remembering people who've had such an impact on your life. But if you can take that, and work with it and make sure you have got a more positive outlook, then that's great too, isn't it? And this week in particular, that's definitely been the case. And I've focused on the positives rather than looked on all the sad things that's happened. And I'm sure those people would want that. But like I say, do check out the episodes to see much more of what I'm talking about. That positivity is now flowing. All the running's coming together. I feel like I'm doing the things I need to do. One of the reasons I do running is because I know how much it works for me. Just like DOdaily, talking outwardly, I know how much that works for me. So again, we've just got to keep finding ways, haven't we? And sort of getting back to the Thursday angle of what this is, the daily motivations have got a slightly different focus. I tend to start the week by talking about how I'm going to attack it and do it well, and then as it builds, introduce my activity and a different slant on it, and then on Thursday, just come on. Sometimes there's some really serious questions based on the things I've said before. You know, I've got really deep about my own sort of mental health journey, and everybody's got one. You know, sometimes people are scared and frightened. I was just having a conversation last night about the friend I mentioned who took his own life, with a friend, a mutual friend of ours, and that he actually told me more details of what happened, which I didn't know. And it was really interesting to hear. And he said to me, what was the response when you did a video, you know, when you started sort of vlogging? I said, to be honest, you know, I probably lost friends. I lost people who probably thought I was a little bit, what's the word? A little bit messed up, I guess, and a little bit worried. All I am is prepared to talk about it. You know, everybody suffers with it. Everybody has to deal with it. I don't sort of use the technical side of it. I'm not a GP. I'm not a mental health specialist. I've done a little bit of training in certain areas, and I've been around people who've suffered, and that's life, isn't it? That's life experience, and I think you get much more from that, and people who are prepared to be honest and straightforward about these things than sometimes talking about the things we don't want to hear. You know, obviously people don't want to hear me talking about it either, but that's absolutely fine. This is what it is. You know, I've got lots of determination. If one person's watching, that'll do for me. You know, if one person's seeing the things I'm saying, the things I'm thinking, that they probably understand me a little bit better, you know, and hopefully it will help them sort of understand how they can relate it to themselves. So that's what Thursday is all about. You know, just a bit of what's gone before in the week, getting stuck into the questions, trying to sort of find answers to one or two quirky questions. And just having a bit of fun, really, for me, you know, getting out of my comfort zone. It's all good practice for other things I do. I do a bit of sort of stuff around YouTube and talking on certain things, and occasionally, you know, I get asked to sort of speak about things. So it's nice to build this experience as well, and to build my own confidence. And again, in a week where everything's kind of coming together, and I've been able to talk about things that are so important. You know, whilst it's raw and real, you know, it probably comes out a lot better because of that, you know, because it is so raw and real. And somebody said to me last night, which was a nice comment, that you speak really well about that. I've always had this sort of inclination that when I'm on football YouTube channels, I'll probably talk a lot better about that because it's not so raw and real, and then I probably know a lot more about football than I do mental health and dealing with things like this. But someone says I actually do a lot better at what I do here. You know, I'm a lot more articulate, and I always criticize it. I'm my own biggest critic, and I think I have to be that way. Kaizen mentality to some degree, you know, always trying to improve, always trying to be that little bit better. That's not a bad thing, is it? We've got to keep striving forward, and I'm pretty determined when I get going. And that's probably hitting the nail on the head this week, that determination starting to come back. One thing I've really sort of been beating myself up about is missing one or two dailies, you know, not getting into running the way I used to do it with a smile on my face. And I've just put a social media post out there saying, when running makes me smile like it has this week, you know, or like it has today, it's always a good day. You know, that might sound cheesy, it might sound a little bit corny, but that's the reality. And if I can take that positivity forward, of course, into tomorrow and the weekend, I'm going to have a good time. I can look back at next week and think that was a good one. Hopefully I can at least replicate it and do some of the things that have worked, take it forward. The one or two things that didn't go so well, we can try and eradicate. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? And sometimes all you need is to be sort of humble enough to realise what's inspired you. And I spoke about the anniversaries, those people, our Jamie in particular, the guy who took his life, and the other person this week I'm kind of referring to without mentioning to him, which is my grandma, the person I feel my personality is most like, quite driven, determined, quite headstrong, but also sort of willing to do things for people, humble, willing to say when it's wrong. I feel I take all those traits from there. So it's somebody that I miss dearly, but again, I've got to look at those positives of all those things I've just said and think it's made me what I am today. Right at the end of yesterday's episode, I spoke about Jamie and my grandma to some extent. Sometimes people leave us far too early. I spoke about it before with my dad and things like that. They don't live to an age, and sometimes we worry about age. We should just be grateful for the time we've got and try and make the absolute most of it. And that's what I'm trying to do, especially when I'm feeling as good as I am. I touched on last week, I was feeling a bit rough and a bit overwhelmed by the things I enjoy, and that's not a feeling I experience too much. So I've had to sort of dig deep, find ways to make it happen. It's not as straightforward as I'm saying, as it might appear that I'm saying. It's not an easy ride sometimes. There's bumps, but the one thing I do, is make sure that when I'm slipping, I keep talking, so I'm reminding myself because I'm talking on here. But then it's about talking about where activity can help, where the things you enjoy can help, doing certain things and where that can help. And by the time I've said it, I'm almost talking myself into doing it. And that's what's happened with the running. I've just pushed myself that little bit more, not too hard, but just up my mileage. I've got a marathon to train for. So it's all working hand in hand with what needs doing. And again, that confidence and that belief starts coming back. And when that comes back, the smile comes back, the enjoyment comes back. And it's such a good thing. I've always said with running, especially, it is the thing I use as a go-to thing. And when I can do it and when I can do it well, it's almost like my drug and medicine that makes me feel better. But I've always said it's never been easy. I've never had a straightforward relationship with it. I'm not naturally fit. When I started, it was to lose a lot of weight. Right now, I need to lose a lot of weight. And like I said, I've got this marathon to train for. But it's never been easy, and I can probably count on one hand, how many times I've actually been out there, felt strong, felt good, and that is an amazing feeling. I'm not there yet, I'm not claiming to be back, to a level I really want to be, but what I am is getting some enjoyment from it again, and that's really, really important, isn't it? So that's just about where I'm at this week. Got quite into it then, didn't I? Really starting to feel good, really looking to get my routines and habits going again. Spent some time running on my own as well for all the sort of activity I drive and encouragement through running groups. It's important for me just sometimes to find that little bit of headspace. And all this started with a little bit, just a walk at the weekend. I touched on this on Monday. When I was feeling really low, I said, okay, let's go and do something a little bit different with the dog. Just take him to walk somewhere different, a change of scenery, a nice sunset, a few pictures, a few social media posts is what I like doing. Made me feel all the better. And that's kind of got me to where I am. So feeling really good. Getting into the crux of Thursday. If you've got anything to add to anything I say, please drop me a comment. Please get in touch through any of that social media scrolling across the bottom. Please follow them as well, of course. And if you want to follow my personal pages at Des Oldham on Twitter and Instagram, please look me up. I'm quite active, as I've just said there. I love my social media as well. Make no bones about that. If I'm prepared to put myself on YouTube, I'm prepared to put myself on those things. It's something I really, really enjoy doing. It's almost like a blog, isn't it? On top of the vlog, what I do here. So that's the way I see it, and I use it the way I see fit. Football, running, puppy pictures, and it just makes me feel good about the things I've done. It's not to gloat or show off. It's just one of those things I really enjoy. So please do follow me. Please do drop any comments. Don't forget to like this episode. I really, really appreciate that. If you've got any questions for next week or anything you want to add, put it in the live feed, or comment on any videos throughout the week, and I'll pick that up and look to do my best in answering them next week. There is a comment. Eve's watching. Thank you for the support, Eve. I really, really appreciate it. Good evening, Des. Hope you're well. Been doing a lot of exercise recently, but I'm struggling to lose weight. I've been unwell the last couple of days. It's interesting that Eve makes a comment about feeling unwell. I got myself into a good routine. It seems to have been the case probably for about 2 years now, 18 months, 2 years, where I've been training for something or got really determined, got the bit between my teeth, feel really strong. And then I picked up an illness or an injury. And it's really, really frustrating, isn't it? It's really tough to sometimes get back into it. You know, the frustrations come out, you know, and you might then start making the wrong decisions because you're not in the right frame of mind, eating the wrong things, drinking the wrong things, you know, giving up a little bit when you do feel a little bit better. But I'm so pleased. I was ill a couple of weeks ago for about 3 weeks. Felt really rough. It really knocked me off my stride. And one thing I did do is keep up my other good habits I'd started in the new year, the eating and the drinking or not drinking, so to speak. So I was really pleased that I kept that up. And I think one thing when you're poorly, it's just easy to indulge, you know, we feel rubbish. So we want comfort foods. And for me, you know, whilst I couldn't exercise and lose weight, which that definitely helps with, it was important to maintain the diet. And that, when I got better, really helped me sort of remotivate myself, get back onto it quicker than I have been doing. You know, I'll be honest, I've got to that position before, and then all of a sudden you put another half stone on because you've not done something for a couple of weeks and you've been indulging, and it gets hard. But it's still hard. I've touched on that already. It's always hard for me, and I'm still in a position where I need to lose weight. But because I maintain that kind of habit, it just helped me then just get back into it, you know, and it probably slightly easier in some ways. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't tangible. I couldn't feel that, but the motivation was there to keep going, knowing I'd sort of not slipped too much. You know, sometimes we can't do the activity because we feel unwell and things like that. So what I'll say, Eve, is take it easy. You know, take it easy for now. Don't try and do too much when you're ill. It's all about getting better. You know, but if you can, you know, just keep to some of the things that you know will work. You know, on top of the exercise, when you're trying to get fit and lose weight, I take this journey every 6 months. It feels every 6 days sometimes. It's about being strict with yourself. You know, not too strict, but we all know what works and what doesn't. If you eat the wrong thing, you know, you're not going to lose weight. If you eat the right things, you know, fruit, veg, salad, all those things, it's not rocket science. You know, I have a big thing, and I probably shouldn't say this, you know, because again, it's about inspiration from wherever you can. But it's like diet plans and things like that. When people work to them, I think we all know what's right and wrong. You know, and at the end of the day, we choose what we put in our mouth and things like that. And it is that simple. It's not easy because I've probably just done it. Said to Kay, is there anything for pudding after tea tonight? You know, and she said no. And then that's a good thing, really, isn't it? Because the temptation's not there. But I might not have had it, but I might have had it. You know, and again, trying to lose weight it's good, isn't it? When you can just stick to the routines. So thanks for that input. If anyone else has got anything, I'll quite happily answer the questions. But getting into the throwback, we always start and end with a throwback, just a light-hearted intro and outro almost of 1 or 2 ideas where people might have done things. Of course, last time I was on Thursday, I'd been speaking a lot about my trip to Paris and how much I enjoyed that and how it put me in a good place until then the next blip. You know, so I asked the question, which city would you love to visit? Because I was so surprised about how much I'd enjoyed it. Having been there as a kid, or when I was young, 16, I think I was when I last went. It was it was not somewhere I was particularly looking forward to going back, apart from the fact I wanted to take A. When I got there, I absolutely loved it. So I thought it'd be great to hear what other people think, and especially as I've got a honeymoon coming up later in the year, where we're looking to travel a little bit, not too long, probably a couple of weeks in 4 or 5 different locations, and then perhaps take a bit of time on a beach somewhere. So we're really looking forward to that, but we've made no plans yet. So perhaps looking for a bit of inspiration to draw from. Natalie says she's always wanted to go to Las Vegas. Totally understand that. Looks an amazing place. Not somewhere that absolutely grabs me, but again, this is about the difference in opinion, isn't it? This is what the throwback question is all about. There's no wrong answers. So if you want to support the channel, please do just drop a comment on this kind of throwback thing, because it all helps with sharing it and making it sort of recognised around YouTube. So I'd appreciate the support in that sense as well. And of course, I'll remind you again, don't forget to smash that like button. It takes 2 seconds. Kay says she'd love to go to Rome or anywhere in Italy for that matter. I think that will probably definitely be on the list for the honeymoon. She keeps talking about that. I've been to Milan and Turin. I've actually run a half marathon in Turin, which was brilliant. I'd love to go back. I'm not actually one for going back to places. I want to see as many places as I can. But of course, when you're married, it's a bit of give and take. So we have to decide on this together. Dawn says she'd love to visit Berlin. The history intrigues her. Absolutely. I mentioned this. Dawn had commented before the end of the episode when this question came up, and I mentioned I went to Berlin, and there's only 2 places I've ever been where I felt a sense of history. I felt the importance of the place. You know, there's a almost tangible feel. It's not tangible, but it's almost like there's something in the air. And it was Berlin and the World Trade Center, the thought of the World Trade Center, obviously and we all know what had happened there, and we know what happened in Berlin in the wars and things like that. And you can really feel it. There's kind of reminders everywhere, and it's such an amazing place to go. I've been a couple of times now. Someone who never goes back to the same place, but yeah, really, really do enjoy that. Ian says I would like to go back to Valencia after the trip we did in December. Me too, Ian, but absolutely fantastic place. But it was a whistle-stop tour. We dropped into Watch Forest, so that was really nice. We didn't actually see enough of it. So thanks for those. Pop the question up a bit too soon there. Thanks for that feedback. There'll be another throwback at the end of the episode. Just something, like I say, to get involved in. And there's no wrong answers. People always say, I'd love to comment, but I feel a bit nervous. No, there's no wrong answers. And you'll be supporting me. And like I say, all I'm trying to do here is support others and perhaps throw 1 or 2 light-hearted ideas around about things that work for other people. And that's what that throwback's about. Getting into the questions, I really, really appreciate all those responses, of course, but I appreciate anybody who asks me a question. I always say it's absolutely anything you want to ask. You know, I'll be honest. I keep talking about I'll be honest on certain episodes, but I'm definitely honest here. And if I don't agree with something, or if I don't think something, you know, I won't just say the right thing. That's not my way. People who know me probably think I'm a bit too blunt, in all honesty, but that's what it's all about. So I'm not sure what's coming. So whether it's light-hearted or not, like I say, get those questions in for next week. You know, if you want to talk about a certain subject, you're always welcome to come on. You know, I've done it before about racism, about sort of men and women and things like that, you know, and how we have to deal with things differently. Important subjects, I guess. I've got into my own mental health and deep into what sort of when it got bad, and some things that people are probably uncomfortable hearing. I'm definitely uncomfortable saying them, but I think it's important to show these things. But then there's the light-hearted side as well, which is always important. Dor says, how was your run? Brilliant. 10 hill reps I did of a really, really steep hill in Nottingham. Done it before, but I've not done it for a long time. I hated it whilst I was doing it, but the endorphins are flowing now. I've got a smile on my face. And like I said before, if you've been watching from the start, when I'm smiling after a run, it's a good day, and it's definitely a good day today. So that first question from Simon: if you plan your perfect weekend, what would it include? It definitely include football. Definitely include running. To be honest, and I don't want to sound like I'm just saying it for the sake of it, for the sake of the question, probably live the perfect weekend most weekends. I love the way I live for the weekend. There's lots of things that I take out of the week. Don't get me wrong. I'm not one who goes, oh God, it's a Monday, or Tuesday today. Tuesday's a bit nondescript. Whatever. I've always got something to do. Running groups, coaching groups, DOdaily, whatever it is. Trying to work off these motivations to get myself going, so there's purpose and intention to every day. But the weekends, I absolutely love them. The things I really sort of get passionate about, whether it's a football match or a half marathon or a running event somewhere. Park run, of course, has been a big thing for me. Really helped me understand that you can get so much from running. I've spoken about Park Run to the Empty Green. Of course, I've got that Park Run PB playlist, which I'm still working at, not vlogged for a couple of weeks, just trying to get back into the rhythm of running and working towards that PB without knowing I'm a long way off, to be fair, but hopefully I'm going in the right direction, and I feel confident enough to pick up the camera and do a few more vlogs on that. So check that out. Something a bit different, and especially if you are a park runner, it's just a quirky way of seeing these things. If you are a park runner, you know how important park run tourism is. But that's a massive part of my weekend. So going to watch my perfect weekend would perhaps be, I always like to have a few beers after work, although I'm not at the moment, or having very few beers on a Friday night. Perfect weekend will be to finish work, have a couple of beers, at the local pub somewhere where I spend a lot of time doing the running groups and things like that. Got a good relationship with the people in there and the guys that go in. So I'd just say a couple of beers in the pub, a couple of hours, come home, have my tea. Friday night in with Kay, prepare myself, not be too drunk from them beers. Have some nice tea, normally a curry on a Friday with Kay. Watch a bit of sport on TV. Go to bed, get up, feel fresh for park run. It's not always the case. Those beers sometimes overtake. I will keep reiterating that point, although I'm being better at the moment. Get up, do a park run somewhere different. If Forest are playing away, normally get to a park run when Forest play in London. It seems to be quite a lot now. We're in the Premier League. But if I'm going to an away match, which of course is my big thing, I go to all the Forest matches. I do a bit of football content around that as well, and thankfully get paid to do it, so it covers some of my cost. So it's a gimme these days. Not always gone to them all, but feel very lucky to have that sort of privilege now. So if Forest are playing in London or Sheffield or Leeds, and we can get a park run in before travel, get the park run ticked off, see something different. Again, it's about seeing new things, isn't it? Like that walk I mentioned, just getting out of Nottingham, 5 minutes out of Nottingham, but seeing somewhere different and taking it all in and seeing something that's the same but different, if you know what I mean, and experiencing the way other people do it, and making your mind up whether you like that one or not. So the park run, bit of breakfast, when we do it locally, a lot of the guys often meet up and have breakfast. Sort of a bit of a thing around park run before we go our separate ways and attack the weekend. If Forest at home, it's over to the City Ground, meeting all my friends around football, doing my content. If they're away, it's pretty much the same, but of course it might be sort of travelling, and then just usually if they win, which we've had a few this season, not so many as last season, a few beers again. Probably have at the moment I'm probably having a few beers on a Saturday, and that's like my day where I have a couple and try not to drink too much at the rest of the time. But usually probably go on a bit later, and then get up Sunday morning and in an ideal world, living my best life. It's not happened too much, but I'm building is to go on a long run with a running group, and then almost as wild Sunday away. perhaps sat in the pub, not necessarily drinking too much beer, but just relaxing. I probably used to beat myself up about that, after the winning club, sitting around for too long and not doing. But we're busy in the week, that what if that's what we want to do, if that's downtime, that's absolutely brilliant, isn't it? And what I'll say about that, some people will go, well, that's a bit like boring, isn't it? Or that's a bit routine, like, but that's what I enjoy. That's me living my best life. And I wouldn't have it any other different. It's not necessarily too expensive. It can be, with some of those things I've said there, and the cost of things these days, but it's what I enjoy, it's what I do. So every weekend I kind of get to do that, and that's my perfect weekend. Of course, if we can go away, and do something. Kay's parents have got a caravan at the coast. That's always amazing when we get down there and spend some time with them. If that involves me watching a lot of football with a dad, Kay on the balcony talking to her mum, barbecues and perhaps walks on the beach. We're really looking forward to getting the dog out as well to the seaside at some point, or going away somewhere like when we went to Paris. Love traveling, love doing different things. So kind of get to do those things, and I just really, really enjoy making the most out of the weekend. And then sometimes on a Saturday, like I said, on a Sunday, just not doing very much, but doing a long run. So doing plenty in that sense, making it worthwhile, purpose and intention, but then not doing too much after that to really just enjoy and see the weekend out, see the week out. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Just a couple of comments here come in. Adrian says, love football away days, and including there is part one. Off to Stockport this Saturday to do Woodbank part one. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. It's made me think where I'm going. I've been planning with friends where we're going to go. Forester don't actually play this Saturday, they play Sunday, so we've got a bit of time, but we've got a friend's party in the afternoon, so I've got this little mission to tick off the East Midlands ones. Probably done 90% of them, but I seem to do one, and a new one gets added on at the moment. There's a couple of new ones, one at Beacon Hill, which is apparently really tough. I think we might be doing Daventry, I can't be sure, but good luck with that, Adrian. Let us know, please. Come on next week or after the weekend and let me know what you think. Check out my vlog. I'll try and get one done. You've inspired me. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do a vlog this weekend, different part one, and hopefully you'll check that out and let me know what you think. I love feedback on part ones. I love people to say, go and try this one again, because I like to be inspired, and I think that's really, really important, isn't it? Dawn on the weekend thing says, my would be a weekend in a log cabin with a view of the sea, no phone or social media. Not sure that's exactly true, is it, Dawn? No WhatsApp. What would Dawn do with no WhatsApp? Just kidding, pulling her leg there. She'll kill me for saying that, but I totally see the sentiment in that. I sometimes think that too, but then start reaching out for my phone and wanting to do my social media post, all the nice pictures I've taken. But that sounds absolutely amazing, and I think it's definitely something that I'd love to do as well. Really, something different as well, isn't it? We all like the sound of it, but do we often go down that route? So definitely could inspire me to think about that giving a go. One thing I've always thought about, so without being boring about talking about my routines and all the things I talk about, I just love to. I've never been to the north of Scotland. I've been to Scotland, Edinburgh, Glasgow, and the big cities, but I'd love to go right up north. There's no reason I can't. There's no reason myself and Kay can't plan it. And I'd love to take in the sort of scenery and just like Dawn says there, perhaps get a cottage looking over the sea. That'd be amazing, wouldn't it? Looking over the Atlantic Ocean when the sun's setting. So that is definitely something on my list to do. So again, there's different ways to spend it, isn't there? But the most important thing is to be positive about what you're doing. And look forward to it. Infuse. I always say infuse about whatever you've got to look forward to, because if you don't, there's no point. And that's what it is. So thanks for that question, Simon. Hopefully that sort of answers it in many different ways. But I feel that when the weekend comes, when Friday morning ticks around and I've got all my jobs to tick off, I inspire myself to get stuff done before the weekend so I can make them as much of it as I can. And that's what's really important as well, isn't it? But really appreciate that question. Anybody else with anything to add, please do pop it in the comments. Don't forget to like this episode. I'd really, really appreciate it if you can smash that like button. That'd be fantastic. Question 2, great to hear you getting some good running in this week. Looking ahead to the London Marathon, which part of the route are you most and least looking forward to? This is from Kay. Kay's done the London Marathon. Kay is of course the person I keep referring to, is my partner. We're both training to do it. We was both going to do it after the wedding the week after. Fortunately, I was completely not in the right place with fitness, with injury, with headspace. I'll be honest, those three things were going against me. Again, started this episode by talking about what kind of headspace I'm in with the running. So great questions these. Of course, there is a little bit of focus on the activity and running, while I try and mix it all up and relate it into other things. It is my real passion. So I always love a running question. It's one of those, like I said about the football, I feel like I probably know a little bit more. I'm not saying I know it all, but I feel I know. And having done the London Marathon, I did it fairly well, all things considered. Wasn't a PB, wasn't my fastest time, but picked up a little knock the week before, and I was a little bit concerned, but managed to do 4.5 hours. You can't grumble at times like that. I don't think I'll be doing anywhere near that this time, but I have got a plan to do it again next year if I can find a way of getting in. And this is why I really want to work hard. I want to sort of get those miles in and maintain my fitness and really sort of get back into it for me as well. For all I've give out with this running thing, I want to put some focus on myself and get in. Looking at London as a sort of specific event, it's fantastic. It's amazing. It's something that should inspire you anyway. Just that theme tune on the BBC, when you hear it on the day, all the emotions come out. When you climb up Greenwich, one of my favourite bits, and I was just about to say it there, but it's actually one of my favourite bits. When you climb up the hill, I was absolutely shattered getting to the top of the hill in Greenwich, but then you look back over the city. And for me, again, I don't want to sound too corny with it, but when I turn around, you're kind of on your own as well, because you all your supporters are back at the hotel and you get ushered off onto trains. It's quite a surreal experience to some degree. But you end up down there on your own, and it was nice time. I felt like I'd come a long way. There was lots of reasons, lots of the mental health stuff I've spoken about, and where I was and when I got there, and that was a real nice moment for me. It made me feel like I'd achieved something, and I had not achieved the running part of it, but it made me feel like it made me feel like I'd come a long way, and I'm not saying a long way and I've achieved this, that and the other, but from where I was, I'd come a long way, and it was a nice moment. Got quite emotional, took a picture, did a social media post, as I always do, but it was definitely one of my favourite bits. Hearing that theme tune is another bit, again, if you're already a little bit emotional and that comes on, there's something that grabs you with that, and every single bit of it in its own way is amazing. But if I'm pressed on a least favourite, I really I was going strong for halfway. I'd run next to Chris Evans for a little bit and spoke to him bizarrely, which was a nice thing to do. Around 10 or 11 miles, crossed over Tower Bridge and kind of hit a little bit of a brick wall halfway in. I'd done a fairly good first half, which helped with my time, of course, and posted a decent time. But when I got round Canary Wharf, it's 15, 16, 17, 18, sort of 15 to 20 miles. It's really, really tough. The crowds thin out just a little bit. The rest of the route, it's 20 deep. But around Canary Wharf, it just thins out, and it's a bit of, you go and you double back and you sort of run around a bit and another bit. And then sort of as you get back, coming past Tower Bridge, it's hard. It's really, really hard. But but the crowds get you through. And another one of my favorite things about it is, and someone told me this, somebody who'd been running a lot longer than I had and probably done these things a lot better than I ever will do, told me once that for every person, there must be hundreds of people that shout your name, and that, like, when you just want to walk or you are just having a moment, walking, and someone shouts your name, it just gets you going that little bit, and again, it all helps you sort of, for me, post that decent-ish time, and it's just getting you over that finish line, because it gets really tough. But then when you finished, that's amazing as well. I did get emotional. I don't normally admit that. People like to remind me I got emotional at the end when I met back up with Kay and my friends. That was absolutely amazing. And when you've got that medal around your neck on the mall, there's nothing quite like it. Marathons are hard work, hard work. They take a lot to do. They take a lot of training, the hard work. They almost become like a part-time job, I feel. And you have to put a lot of effort in, and you have to put a lot of effort in on the day. And you probably don't enjoy a very big percent of it, but there's little things to take from it. And then when you finish, nothing else matters. You've done it. You've run 26 miles. It's a long way. So anybody who does it should feel absolutely amazing. And anybody who's lucky enough to do London, just savor every moment of it. That's kind of what I'm going to do this time. If it took me eight hours, I don't think it'll quite take me that long. But if it took me 8 hours, then so be it. I want to get my head up, look around. Sometimes when you do it and you're fit and healthy and well, probably just passes you by a little bit. But I want to do it, and take it all in, and then perhaps go back at some other point and give it a real good go. So really looking forward to it this year. But I think, just to sort of summarise my favourites, definitely climbing up Greenwich Hill, the theme tune at the start. Tower Bridge is always really, really well supported. Then sort of coming down, seeing people as well, seeing your friends. There's a spot now, various friends and Kay and myself have done it in alternative years and things like that. There's the same spot at about 9 miles where we always are. So getting to that point and seeing people, it just gives you that spirit. You've already done 9 miles. You're already absolutely shattered. You need something to keep you going. So yeah, really, really enjoy that part of it. And then just if there is a negative, it's not too much of one. It's that run around Canary Wharf and the big buildings and the lack of people and the sort of toing and throwing on the roads. But yeah, it's amazing. I can't really say too many bad things about it. But thanks for the question, Kay. I'm sure you knew most of that already. This is an interesting comment. Kay says, will you be vlogging it? Who knows? If I am taking the pace off slightly, if I'm not quite ready, because there is only 7 weeks, it might be something that's worth doing, just to show people. And I think that might be something I end up doing. So again, it'll give me a different kind of purpose and intention with it. So watch this space on that one. And then Kay's also said, keeping everything crossed for us to be in the same start area this year. Again, I mentioned how much I enjoyed that. It'd be great to do that with Kay now, as I haven't experienced it on my own before. That'd be fantastic. A couple of other comments. Ian, who's done the London Marathon, says he loved going around the Cutty Sark and Tower Bridge. Of course, they're the real landmark. The real landmarks, especially in the sort of first part of the race, really well supported. Lots of noise, so loud. Whilst the Cutty Sark skipped by me a little bit. You kind of remind it, where you are, but it's all over very quick. But the noise there was absolutely amazing. So totally agree with Ian on that one. Dawn says mine would be. Oh, that was the comment from before. So there's another one here from Dawn. I love supporting the London Marathon. My favourite viewpoint is the one where we stood last year. Sorry, I can't remember what it's called. It is at Surrey Quays. It's the point I mentioned at 9 miles. There's a Tesco on the corner. So there's been times where we've gone in and got the runners' waters. One year Kay did it. It was record temperatures and they'd run out, which was which was tough. But yeah, comment here from Mr. Daw, who's invited me to join him on Sky Sports on Sunday morning. And I think he just wanted to let you know he's on it. But he says, you better have a shave for your Sky Sports appearance. It's actually my next job to do when I get off here. You know, when I stop babbling on, I thought I better have a shave so it goes back. So I'm looking my best, and definitely better looking than Mr. Daw. So upstage him in that sense, if nothing else. So yes, I'll be having a shave. And if you didn't know already, Mr. Daw, he's got his own channel. Please do subscribe to it. He helps me massively. He has done. You know, lots of the people who watch his channel watch mine too and have subscribed. And if you didn't know, he's on Sky Sports on Sunday. So check out that too if you have a Forest persuasion. I thought I'd get that one in because he definitely wanted to get it in, didn't he? So yeah, lots of London Marathon talk there. If you've got any experiences of it, anything you enjoyed, didn't enjoy, please drop me a comment. If you're watching after the show, of course, drop it in the comments, and I'd love to sort of feedback anything or use it as content in future weeks. Don't forget, do subscribe to DOdaily. Do it that like button. I'll keep dropping that reminder. You know, it takes 2 seconds. Do it now. The final question this week, great set of questions actually, all nicely linked into that perfect weekend. I didn't know what 2 and 3 was, genuinely, before I come on, but it links into that question 1, doesn't it? And the perfect weekend, running and football and these things. Would you rather guaranteed safety in the Premiership for Forest for 20 years, but never any trophies or achievements, or non-guaranteed safety, but the chance to go for the Cups and the top 6? And this is from John. It's been a tough season for Forest. I mentioned already how amazing last season was getting promoted. Do you know? And the honest answer in this is the latter part of that. Do you know, the novelty of the Premier League, the novelty of football to me will never wear off because I've been doing it now. I've had a season ticket for 30 years. Whatever league Forest are in, it doesn't matter to me. You know, it's what I do on a Saturday. It's part of my perfect weekend. It's where I see my friends. It's much more than that. COVID, lockdown, you know, not being in football stadiums prove that. Part of it is being in that community. It's being there. Of course, what I'm trying to do through DOdaily and my running group Do Running, you know, is create community and places where people feel safe and comfortable and have fun, you know, enjoy themselves, and just feel that they can be themselves. And at football, that's all part of it. So whilst I take probably either scenario, I'll probably lean to I definitely lean towards the second one. You know, the Premier League is the place to be. It's vast. It's bonkers in many ways. You know, the football is brilliant. It's 100 miles an hour. Forest have found it tough this year. I wouldn't want to get beat to the point of just staying up every year. You know, I'd like us to win cups. That's what sports about. Sports about enjoying it and being involved and taking part from any. But it's about winning as well, isn't it? Winning and losing. When I was young, I didn't like the losing bit. I hated it when Forest lost. It affected me far too much. And it affects me now to some degree. I'm sure Kay will vouch for that. But it doesn't affect me like it used to. It's a case of enjoying the highs and not getting too low on the lows. Something I've said already about life and how I sort of find the positive in things. You know, there's always something. There's something to learn. Kind of consider myself a bit of a student of the game. I look into it. You know, I'm really into tactics and people support football teams for different reasons. They want to go and scream and shout and do whatever. I do that to some degree, but I also like the tactical side and the theory and all those things. So when it don't go so well, that's your perfect opportunity to learn, isn't it? Again, let's speak about learning from where we get it wrong, when we don't get it right. So I'd love to sort of pick the bones out of it. I don't get too angry with it anymore. Probably get called a happy clapper half the time, you know, for content I put out. I can't get too dramatic when it doesn't quite go so well, because at the end of the day, Forest were out the Premier League for over 20 years and I still kept going. It got mundane, it got boring at times. But again, for all as bad as the football was at times, there was other reasons to be there, wasn't there? So winning's great, winning's absolutely amazing, but it's the hope that you live for. You know, winning cups, getting to Wembley. I had one of the best days of my life at Wembley. I had all the people I wanted around me. You know, at Wembley when Forest got promoted after so long. You know, 40,000 people I wanted around me. 40,000 Forest fans. And everybody that was there just says it was one of the best days. And again, the emotions come out. There'll be people who can tell you about all of that. But it's those big occasions are what we live for. So if it takes a long time to come, you know, they just feel even better, don't they? It's like anything. It, it's like my running when it's not felt great for so long. All of a sudden, I'm feeling fantastic about it. It's put a smile on my face. It feels that a little bit extra special. You know, it's no different sometimes. But I just think, you know, you've got to be in it to win it, and if that means experiencing the tough times to have the real highs, you know, then it's something you have to suck up, you know, and take. And again, you know, I get frustrated when Forest put out weakened teams in cups and things like that, because they just go and try and win it. You know, one of my big inspirations, somebody I watch a lot of videos of, I wouldn't say necessarily rubs off on me because completely different character, but he's Brian Clough. You know, every Forest fan is inspired by Brian Clough. I'm not unique in that sense, but he used to try and win absolutely everything. You know, whether it was a six-a-side tournament, you know, in the summer, you know, where they played for a bit of fun, he'd put his best players out. And I think that's what it's all about, isn't it? You know, you try your best, you're determined, you make your effort, and you have to take some of the bad, the rough with the smooth, and that's the way it is, you know. And again, without being silly about it, I've seen a lot more places because Forest were rubbish for so long. You know, I've been to Cheltenham, I've been to Colchester, I've been to Yeovil and Woking, bizarrely, you know, and seen us get beaten, most of them. But places I'd have never gone in my life. And again, this is why it kind of makes up a perfect weekend, because it's all part of that experience. You know, the part ones, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent, they're never really that bad. But whether they're good or indifferent, you know, and then the football ground, the experience you get from the result, you know, seeing different things, it's amazing, isn't it? So, yeah, definitely the latter part of that. But great question, that, John. Really sort of like that kind of question. If anybody's got anything like that, make sure you get them in for next week. There's the email address. There's at DOdaily.org.uk. Anything you want to add to what I've said. If you do a park run this weekend, if you go to a football match in a different stadium, you know, please tell me all about it. Let me know. If you want to follow me on Strava, just going back to those comments, Adrian, if you are a runner and you want to follow me on Strava, check me out. I'll definitely look you up and definitely be keen to see how you get on in that part one. Look me up on Strava again. It's just my name. I don't use any of these silly names or silly pictures. You get what you see. There's no point doing DOdaily and talking about some of the things I do and not being yourself, is there? So, yeah, be really interested to know how you're feeling. I say it almost every week on a Thursday. If anybody does need support of a more serious nature, you know, please do get in touch. Always willing to chat. Get lots of emails. You know, probably one a week of people wanting to talk, and then it sort of evolves into messages and things like that. And that's great, because that gives me, again, a real sense of satisfaction. I don't want to have to sort of help people who are struggling because I don't want them to struggle. But when people feel confident enough to do that, you know, it opens that communication and we can all sort of get something from it. I get something from helping because that's the kind of person I want to be. So if you've got anything you want to talk about of a serious nature, if you've got anything to add to that, just want to chat, you know, email me. The social media, if you've not signed up to it so far, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you know, Strava, all the usual platforms, you know, you can follow me. Nothing to hide, nothing to sort of worry about. It is what it is at the end of the day. So I'd appreciate any kind of feedback. You know, that would be brilliant. Any comments, lots of good interaction tonight as well. Really, really appreciate that. AD says he's AD good on. So have anyone else of a running persuasion? If you want somebody to pay an interest in, I follow people, and I'm not one for this on the other platforms, but on Strava, I like to see where people are doing the runs in different places. This guy I follow in Australia, never met him in my life, never will do probably, but I see his park run because I just say this before I go. Lives in Australia, so his park runs Friday night. Like, in terms of the time difference, I always see it before I go to bed and think, oh, he's gone to that park run. One day maybe I'll perhaps get there myself. But yeah, definitely keen to sort of hook up with people in that sense, and always willing to sort of talk. And if it does get serious, that's absolutely fine by me as well. At the end of the day, spoke a lot about Jamie at the start. It's been a poignant week, and if I didn't sort of say these things at the end, based on everything I said there, my inspiration to keep that legacy going, to make sure Jamie's remembered. Like I say, I take the flak for it sometimes. People I thought was friends probably don't subscribe into it, don't buy into what I'm thinking, think I'm a bit bonkers myself. That's absolutely fine. I don't really care. I do care at times because that's the kind of person I am, but most of the time, water off a duck's back, and we just have to sort of keep doing what we have to do, and this is what I have to do. This gives me purpose and intention, a word I've used a lot. So please do get in touch if you really want to. Before we go, a throwback question. Quite simple, isn't it? It's always one of the questions. What would your perfect weekend include? It might be a nice meal, it might not be the full weekend. I ran through mine. I gave you the full itinerary, because I waffle on a little bit when I'm on Thursday Thoughts, but that again is the purpose. But what could be one thing you do at a weekend? It might be you get up and go to a cafe, or you might go to a restaurant, or you might go to a music gig, absolutely anything. You might want to go to a caravan, like I mentioned with Kay's parents. They're looking forward to that opening up this weekend. So what would your perfect weekend be? Please do drop me a comment. It's so easy. Do it now. I can read it out now, read it out next week. It takes 2 seconds, no wrong answers. Everybody's got a perfect weekend. If you've not got something you'd like to do, what's the point? You might as well go to sleep on Friday and wake up Monday. Just a bit of encouragement. If we don't keep doing what you're doing, I don't think there's any danger of that, is there? I've been doing it for long enough now, and I'm determined at the moment and on top of things. So I'm really looking forward to what's next as well. And what is next imminently is Wake Up to Walk. I've been saying it for a while now, really keen. I've been sort of bemoaning the dark mornings and not being able to get about. One of the real features of DOdaily in the first couple of years, particularly in lockdown when we was all a little less busy, and before I had a less busier job, not so many hours, I was getting out and about somewhere different, just talking about where I was, as well as the reasons I do it, and looking back at the week and how it's evolved into looking forward to the weekend, because that's what it is. If it's a nice sunny day, I might just drop a few sort of blue sky type things in, and the importance of that. And if it's hot, taking fluids on board to keep yourself hydrated. Just little tips we all know again, but we just need that reminder. We know the right and wrong answers to these things. I'm not trying to preach, but it's a great way to sort of motivate myself for the weekend. Look back, evaluate, keep evaluating. It's what we have to do, and really sort of be positive about it. Find the positives. That's all I'll be doing in the morning. Distracting myself a little bit there, but I'm going to try and get somewhere different. Not decided yet. I'm going to go and have my tea. It's getting late now. Kay's going to be killing me. I said I'd only be on half an hour. But I'm going to go and get my tea, probably discuss it then. She's talking about going for a run as well. She used to run. I used to walk on a Friday, do my video. We'd meet back up, and we'd already smash the day, attack the day. That's what it's all about on a Friday. Waking up to walk, attacking the day. That'll be available from 7 p.m. tomorrow. Feeling really good about everything, feeling good about DOdaily, feeling good about my running, and despite those things I spoke about, those more serious, deep, poignant things, it's what's inspired me to keep doing what I do, as Dawn said this. So thanks for watching, everyone. Really, really appreciate the support. Really appreciate the comments tonight. Anything that you've added in, I'll be anything that you've got to feedback, I'll be happy to sort of go with next week. I'll be back in the evening after my walk in the morning, hopefully in a nice location, which might just inspire you to add a little bit of activity to yours. When those endorphins get flowing, mine are absolutely flowing right now. It's absolutely amazing. I'm getting a little bit distracted because Kay's telling me the pasta and meatballs are ready, so I've got to go. Thanks once again to everyone watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and hopefully you understand what I'm trying to do here. Keep feeding back until that next episode. Have a fantastic evening. Just doing it.